This is Wilson Area High School, an academically top-ranked high school in the Lehigh Valley. Two students active within the school environment, Sally and Billy, both take basic math, honors lab, English, AP history, and of course, phys ed. The only difference is that Billy is in band while Sally is in study hall. The original scoring system showed that both Sally and Billy took the same classes and earned the same exact grades, but Sally's GPA displayed a higher percentage because she did not take an elective and took a study hall. Meanwhile, Billy took an elective, band, and even though he earned an identical grade to his other classes, it lowered his overall GPA in comparison to Sally's. As a result, Sally was rewarded valedictorian for sitting in study hall, while Billy had to sit in the stands not knowing he could have potentially had a higher or the same grade as her. In return, the grading system has been altered so that students are rewarded with higher grades for participating in an active schedule. Now we're going to send it over to Mr. Martuscelli to explain the differences between the old grading system and the new one.
Just about every school that has a weighted GPA system, the higher the denominator that you're dividing by, the lower the GPA would become, which means the more courses you take, the lower your GPA would become. So we needed to come up with a way to solve that. With a way and said students sitting in study hall, if we could somehow come up with a way to count that as a class and average that into their GPA, that would level the playing field. We have 8 periods in the day, so if we could have every single student have all 8 periods count in their day, we would always be dividing by 8, which would level the playing field. So what we needed to do is come up with a way to put a grade in for when a student sits in study hall. So the best way to do that is if we average all of your other grades, we come up with your average grade and we put that in and count that as a study hall grade, which we call a study hall factor. Let's take a look at one more example and you can see how this whole thing works. Suppose we have a student that's taking all AP courses and their average is a 95 in all of their AP courses, but they have room in their schedule and they currently have 12 study halls in their schedule. Let's take a look at that student's GPA. Okay, calculating that GPA the way that we've done it and the way every school does it, you multiply the weight for the course times the credit for the course times the grade, multiply everything out, and you can see that this person with all 95s has a GPA of 122.48. Okay, so how does that GPA compare to a GPA of a student that has all 100s in their classes, took all the same classes and has 100s and everything, and they didn't even want a study hall in their schedule. So they filled their schedule with elective courses of personal finance, chorus, and journalism. Certainly the person that has all of the 100s as their GPA should have the overall higher GPA. Let's see what happens. Okay, multiplying everything out. In this particular case, we're dividing by 8 because the person has all 8 credits filled up, and you can see the person that took a full schedule has a GPA of 122.0, which is slightly below the student that has 95s and 12 study halls a week. Okay, so let's look and see what happens if we take our study hall factor and apply it to the student that has the 95. They sat in study hall 12 days a week. Their overall average is a 95, so we will give them a 95 for every period they sat in study hall. Multiply that in as another class, do all of the math, and you can see that changes their GPA to a 114.24. In this case, the student that took a completely full schedule with 100 in every course has a higher GPA than the person that has a 95 in all of their courses and sat in study hall. To me, that is the correct way to do it. You should never look at a study hall as pulling your grade down. Really what the study hall does is it levels the playing field, and every period of every day now counts in your GPA. Okay, and the last thing that I will mention is how do you convert your 100-point GPA to a 4.0 GPA number? And it's really rather easy. What we have is we have a system of where every single number from 100 all the way down to 0 is assigned a 4.0 GPA equivalent number. For example, a 100 is a 4.0 and a 94 is a 3.82. Every number is assigned a different number. Basically what you do is you convert each of your 100-point numbers into a 4.0 number and then recalculate everything again. So to calculate this GPA, you convert each grade that you have. You have the 95 in Honors English, which is a 3.85. You have a 98 in Honors Math, which is a 3.95. Convert all of those numbers over, recalculate the GPA. And when you convert everything over, you use the same exact method you always have. You multiply the grade times the weight times the credits, add everything up. Don't forget to put that study hall factor in there, which is just your overall average, and then that's how you calculate your GPA.